Welcome back to Broken Electronics. I'm Lee, and it's wonderful that you can join me here today for the second installment of our Tournament of G4's, finding out which of 4 heavily upgraded PowerMac G4's is truly the most powerful and functional in today's world. What we have up today, PowerMac G4 Digital Audio from January 2001. And the PowerMac G4 Quicksilver from July 2001. And yes, Apple was updating their PowerMac line every 6 months for quite a while there. Dizzying speed. Both have upgraded processors. The Quicksilver has got a dual 1 gigahertz PowerPC G4's, whereas Digital Audio has a single 1.47 gigahertz PowerPC G4. Both of them have upgraded graphics cards, 128 megabytes, 64 megabytes. We have PCI cards, PCI cards. We have PCI SATA controller cards for both, so the boot drives are on the SATA 1 bus with SSDs. We have FireWire 800. Here we have eSATA. And a particularly interesting touch, well, we have a ZIP 250 drive here in the Quicksilver. Here in the place where you would ordinarily have your ZIP 250, we have an SD card reader. An interesting touch. It's something I haven't personally had a lot of use for, but I think it's a fascinating idea. It's connected in there via the USB 2. Both of the machines have USB 2. But the USB 2 card here for the digital audio has got an internal USB port powering and creating this as a functional drive. All right, I think this should be a fascinating endeavor today. I am looking forward to it, and if you in fact are looking forward to it too, please stay tuned. Okay, here we are in the Quicksilver. Give me a second here. That's the boot time. We seem to be gradually getting slower and slower in boot times. And again, as I've said many times, I'm not absolutely sold on boot time as the be-all, end-all. All right. So, real-world tests. We're going to start with NeoOffice, from clicking the button to when the text document becomes responsive to the typing. And we go. And again, I'm going to be typing gibberish because I'm holding my iPod Touch in one hand. All right. There's the cursor. Nothing, nothing. Okay. 30.8 seconds. And that's on the slow side, but hey. Okay. All right. Next up is the 10-4 Fox to Espn test. Again, I can bring you back when we're actually there and the page is responsive. At least see 10-4 Fox open. Okay, stay tuned. Okay, to the point that it actually loaded enough that I can interact with the page 1 minute, 17 seconds, and 63 hundredths. Which actually, if memory serves, is a little bit better than the machines in the first matchup. Okay. Okay, 10 for Fox, you are off duty now. Next, 10 for Bird. I'm still having trouble with one of my email addresses, but yeah, AOL has done something. There they are. That's... Probably don't even need to do this test because it's opening up so quickly. It's 11.62. Yeah, the machine is pretty darn responsive. Okay, yeah, 11.62. All right. Next, WebKit, opening YouTube. Looking for the times on the videos. There they are. Actually, we need a little bit more. All right. 25.92, just about 26 seconds. Keeping notes for posterity. Yeah. Yeah, it's snappy on the internet. I'm not quite sure why it's that much better. Okay, we can go now straight to this channel. And get an idea of how YouTube plays.
Welcome back to Trump. I believe it's a pleasure today.
It's normal. On any G4, you've got to wait a bit for it to load up. Okay, it's at 360p. Tell you what, let's go straight to theater mode. And see how it goes.
Welcome back to Trump. I believe it's a pleasure to be here with you today.
It's fine.
Of course,
Yeah, if theater mode is going to work, the default mode will work. Let's see if we bump it to 720. I'm going to have to start this again. You can see the sharpness. It's going to need to load the 720 version of the video. There I sit, looking rather glum at the moment.
welcome back to Trump. I believe it's a pleasure.
Yeah, I've got the audio turned down, of course, so I can talk over it.
This is a channel announcement.
You know,
I'd like to preface
this is pretty good.
discussion of
Yeah, the syncing between audio and video is good. Now, when I gesture with my hands, as I tend to do,
spending a fair amount.
you can, and there you can see it. As the more I move, the less focused it becomes. But it's not bad. In fact, it's good enough that I'm tempted to at least try. Full screen. Now it's still the 720 version, so we shouldn't have to preload.
Welcome back to Trump. I believe it's a pleasure to be here with you today.
You know,
As you've seen, of course,
it's not that bad.
This is in Shannon
Huh.
Township. I'd like to preface this by a short discussion
Phrasing there.
of
Froze there.
when I make videos and when I make videos now, etc.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's tantalizingly close, but I don't think you're going to be able to do full screen. But theater mode works perfectly well, and if theater mode works, default mode will work. We're good there. All right, all of that is down. And that brings us to benchmarks. Geekbench. We'll run the benchmarks. Okay, we'll bring it back once it's done. It takes a few minutes. Stay tuned. All right, the results are in. Overall score of 868. Integer 1075. Floating point 1105. Memory 386. And stream 283. All right. Be an interesting comparison. The memory, in comparing it to the first round, memory comes off pretty well, even though it's only a gig and a half. All right, next benchmark. Open mark. Run it. Okay, we'll be back as soon as I have results for you. Stay tuned. Well, OpenMark really likes the Radeon 9600 XT. 5018. All right. Which would make the highest score of the tournament so far. Bringing us finally to Xbench. And let's run it. Okay, we'll bring you back for the results. Stay tuned. And the results are in. The overall score, 52.54. The CPU test, 52.3. Thread 57.84. Memory test is 38.07. Quartz graphics 60.43. OpenGL graphics 56.7. User interface 33.79. The disk test 147.41 with 96.25 on the sequential. And 314.62 on the random. All right, so much for Xbench. I need to save that. All right, and then finally, 1 gigabyte of data transfer via Firewire 800. I'd love to know why I can't get this same card to work in the Sawtooth, but hey. $19.81. It's faster and faster. All right. Okay, so we need now to disconnect the Quicksilver and pop in the digital audio and get what the comparison is. Stay tuned. Well, the digital audio is off to a fast start. Literally, That's by quite a bit. 44.64, the fastest starting of the machines. Let me make a note of that. We'll see how that continues on. All right. Next then, NeoOffice. Waiting for the cursor. There it is. It's not responding. And now it's, yeah. Okay. 2705. Which is a little bit faster than the Quicksilver did. Give it full credit. All right. How significantly faster. All right. Next. 10-4 Fox, starting to ESPN. And as usual, of course, this is going to take some time, so I'll bring you back when it's done. Stay tuned. Gotta admit, this surprised me a little bit. 147.59. That's the longest by quite a bit. That's 30 seconds longer than the digital audio took, and it's substantially the same material on the page. That is surprising to me. All right. 10-4 bird. And that's $11.35, virtually a wash. Didn't really need to do this test at all, tell you the truth. I shall keep that in mind for the next installment. All right. WebKit to YouTube. Okay, 28.06, and again, well, a couple of seconds long. It's not enough to worry about, but it's instructive. It is instructive. It did take longer. Okay, put that aside. Let's try looking at our video. I know you're sick of this video. I'm getting kind of sick of it too. Okay.
Welcome back to Brooklyn.
Stop this. Pop it back. Okay, it's 720. All the way back to the beginning, guy. Huh. I'm going to pause here. I don't think this is actually the machine's fault, so stay tuned. Okay, WebKit crashed is what went on there. And again, I'm not sure that I would blame that on the machine. We've loaded up some. Let's see what happens. We're at 720p now.
Welcome back to Brooks Electronics. I'm Lee, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today. Now, as you've seen, of course,
Okay, while we get going.
This is a channel announcement. I'd like to preface this
And
by
it's freezing.
a short discussion of when.
Yeah, it can't do it.
Making any
It
money
just
is
can't do it.
Spending a fair amount.
Okay. So let's move that back. Let's back it down to 360. We're going to have to start it.
Welcome back to Brooks
Yep.
Electronics. I'm Lee, and it's a
Okay,
pleasure
and at 360 it's absolutely
As
fine.
you've seen, of course,
Uh,
the title of the video. This is a channel announcement.
Okay.
I'd like to
Clear
preface this
win
by,
for the Quicksilver on that one, because the Quicksilver could play the video, at least in the default view, and in theater mode for that matter, in 720p. Well, how interesting is that? Okay, so that brings us to benchmarks. Now there are two Geekbenches. We're going to use 2.1.13 because that's what's on the other machines. I should actually probably transfer that one over. But we do need to be consistent, of course. We'll run the benchmarks and I'll bring you back when that's complete and we have some scores to look at. Stay tuned. Well, okay. The scores are in. The overall score is 841. As opposed to the 868 that the Quicksilver got. 47 points. Not huge, but not nothing by any means. Integer, 1022. Quicksilver was 1075. Floating point, 1081. Quicksilver was 1105. Yeah, pretty consistent. Memory, 421, and it was 386. Now, that surprises me in that it's the same kind of memory running in these two machines. Have got identical logic boards. I don't see why there should be a difference. Then again, of course, anybody who's run Geekbench knows that it's never exactly the same any two times in a row. 217 for the stream, which was 283. Yeah, so the only place where the digital audio scores higher than Quicksilver is in fact memory. How about that? Okay. This is happening to me again. I'm not finding OpenMark. Okay, stay tuned. All right, yeah, OpenMark was hiding inside of a folder in the applications folder that was not labeled OpenMark. So anyway, the score for the Radeon 8500, 1411, which obviously way lower than what the Quicksilver is showing. Well, I'll be honest with you. I mean, OpenMark's kind of fun to watch it run, but I'm not sure how realistic it is in real-world terms. Okay, Xbench. And let's run the test. Okay, stay tuned. All right, we have our results. Overall score 51.39, which is less than, well, actually a little more than 1 point under where the Quicksilver is. Statistically, not particularly important. CPU test 63.92 as opposed to 52.30 in the Quicksilver. That is not surprising. Usually a faster single processor will tend to outscore a somewhat slower dual processor. Well, it depends on what you're doing there. Thread test, 5291. That's down by about 5 points from the Quicksilver. Memory, 3736. Now that's interesting because the memory score in Geekbench was higher for the digital audio. But in Xbench, I mean, again, it's statistically insignificant. It's less than a point lower. So substantially the same. Quartz graphics, 64.62, which is a little over 4 points higher than the Quicksilver. OpenGL, 6218, which is a little over 5 points higher than on the Quicksilver. Despite what we saw in OpenMark, and despite what we clearly saw in trying to play that YouTube video. Interesting. Now, this is kind of interesting. The disk test, 24.47. That's almost... 245.47, excuse me. That's almost 100 points higher. And that would be the difference in PCI cards. The other machines in this test are all using the same PCI SATA controller card. This one was one that the original owner, well actually it was the second owner of the machine, the seller of the machine had put in, and he upgraded this machine in the 2000s when it was still a machine that like people would actually use. And did some wonderful things with it, by the way. Yeah, but interesting. Okay. Close out of that. Close out of that. Eject Xbench. All right, one final test. No FireWire here. But we do have eSATA. So let's transfer the same folder using eSATA. Here we go. A little over 22 seconds, and I was not as nifty on there, but I mean it's in the ballpark with FireWire 800, but eSATA should be a lot faster. Now I only have one other machine with an eSATA card in there. That's the G5 Quad, and the G5 Quad eSATA blows FireWire 800 away. You go away. Okay. How about that? Well, that's something to think about here, because, yes, I sure do. There's another kick to this. You may remember I did a video trying to get the eSATA to work, and I finally managed to do so. But it's got quirks. I hadn't realized that it was actually slightly slower than FireWire 800. Pardon me. And the other thing on this, well, with any eSATA enclosure, you've got to power it separately. The bus isn't going to power the drive. That's not too big a deal. But I usually find, though, that I have to restart the machine. I can't just plug in the drive. I have to plug in the drive, restart the machine, and then it mounts up. Not exactly convenient, and if FireWire 800 is equivalent, well, there's some things I think I can do to further improve the digital audio. That will probably be another video. But for the purposes of this, it's close. The benchmarks are indicating Quicksilver by at least a little bit. In the real life tests, that was close to, except for YouTube, that was nowhere near. But just the overall feel, things felt smoother on the Quicksilver. So I'm gonna give this matchup to the Quicksilver, with the caveat that I am going to do some further work on the digital audio to see if we can pick it up a little bit from where it performed in this test. Well, all right. So that sets up the finals, doesn't it? That should be exciting. That will pit the Quicksilver against the world's most powerful sawtooth. That's gonna be something. All right. So, be good to other people. Other people need it. Other people deserve it, particularly in these times. Be good to yourselves. We're going to make this world a better place. You want to be able to enjoy that better place. It isn't a better place yet, so take very, very good and careful care in these most difficult times. We're going to be back with you. We've got that finals of the tournament coming up, and we've got a bunch of other G4 things. There's been G4 things popping out of the woodwork here. So, some good times coming up. Until they do, this has been Broken Electronics.